So, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced on Thursday that she will relinquish her leadership post after leading House Democrats for 2 decades and building a legacy as one of the most powerful and polarizing figures in American politics. And even a controversial matter such as this, Pelosi's long reign, which became a source of tension even within her own party and amongst her constituents. Pelosi won and was elected House Speaker after the 2018 elections by promising Democrats that she would leave her leadership post by 2022. The House Speaker's replacement and successor will sure be a topic of discussion, which stems plenty of debate. But what most discussion topics may revolve around this Thanksgiving and holiday season are quite possibly more pressing matters that hit much closer to home for many Americans. And that is the rising prices that are on the menu for Thanksgiving, with inflation currently at a claimed 7.7%. And so, as Americans prepare to gather for Thanksgiving, the high cost of both turkey and travel is grating on their sense of gratitude and what is more than likely to be a discussion around the dinner table, as many families gather for get-togethers this month and will be discussing inflation. Wholesale turkey prices have jumped 23% from a year ago, which is gobbling up a big chunk of the holiday budget for many. Potatoes and cranberries are more expensive too. Lead agricultural economist at Wells Fargo Bank, Michael Swanson, said, "We haven't caught a break yet." And speaking of catching a break, high energy costs are adding to the push of increased costs. That is just an added burden, preventing struggling families from having a chance of getting caught up on or even getting ahead as prices continue to climb through the roof. More on that in just a moment. So, according to a report from the Labor Department, grocery prices in October were 12.4% higher than a year ago, which is well above the supposed CPI inflation report claims of 7.7%. And polls showed inflation was a top concern for voters casting ballots for the midterm elections. But sadly, voters are being hit with a rude awakening of the grim reality that is the United States government, and folks are left shaking their heads after reading headlines like these. Republicans will control the House, but they can't do much to fix the economy quickly. So basically, thanks for the votes, but don't expect any real changes anytime soon. So CNN reported that congressional Republicans have repeatedly blamed President Joe Biden and their Democratic counterparts for the surge in inflation and the rocky economy. And although the GOP has captured control of the House in the midterm election, albeit by a very slim margin, there's not much the party can do to quickly bring down prices and put the economy on more solid footing when it assumes power in January. Brian Riedel, a senior at the Manhattan Institute, which is a free market think tank, and former chief economist for Republican Senator Rob Portman of Ohio, said it was really easy to criticize the economy and criticize inflation, but no one really had an agenda to do anything about it. And he also said that I think ultimately they're going to be pointing fingers at each other while they wait for the Federal Reserve to do most of the heavy lifting. What? Can you believe that? So additionally, House Republican leaders provided some big picture ideas of their economic plans in their legislative agenda, which they have cleverly titled Commitment to America. That outlines many of the core GOP ideals, including they promise to curb wasteful spending, reduce taxes and regulations, ramp up American energy production, expand U.S. manufacturing, and move supply chains away from China. Yeah, okay. Fat chance on that one, folks. And according to Riedel, California Republican Kevin McCarthy, who is in line to become House Speaker next year, may have difficulty garnering enough support to pass any economic proposals with such a narrow majority, with the caucus currently being split between economic nationalists who want to increase tariffs, reduce immigration, and crack down on trade, and free market supporters, while also championing spending cuts, tax reductions, free trade, and less regulation. Riedel believes that The only significant overlap between the factions is their interest in increasing energy production, though that would not swiftly or significantly bring down the prices of oil, natural gas, and or gasoline. So basically, what it all boils down to is don't get your hopes up. The players are the same for the most part, but the teams have switched end zones at the half, and we should brace for more economic pain and more of the same for the foreseeable future. In the meantime, while some families might try to cut their food bill by shopping at discount supermarkets or switching to less expensive store brands, there's a high likelihood that many families will go into debt financing holiday meals opposed to skimping on filling up their shopping carts for the big feast spreads. And likewise, millions of people are paying a premium to see distant family members this year at a time when airfare ticket prices are still nearly 43% higher than they were a year ago. But nevertheless, planes are still packed to capacity and completely full flights. And even though prices are continuing to climb faster than incomes on average, some people are digging into savings to help cover expenses. Others are relying on credit cards, even though it's getting more expensive to carry a balance, with the average interest rate on credit cards now topping 19% according to Bankrate. That's up from 16.3% at the beginning of the year. Ted Rossman, senior industry analyst at Bankrate, said it's really all about the Fed. Rossman notes that borrowing costs on credit cards have risen steadily as the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates at the fastest pace in decades. And since March, the central bank has raised its benchmark rate by 3.75 percentage points. So rates are likely to go even higher as the Fed tries to tamp down demand and bring inflation under control. Rossman says that the most important point for consumers is your credit card interest rate is way up. Much higher APRs that drive higher monthly minimum payments and increased amounts of accrued interest. And Rossman said it's probably going to go up more, so it's more important than ever to pay down this debt. But in general, Americans are typically not following that advice. Instead, the outstanding balance on credit cards and other forms of revolving debt rose nearly 13% in the summer and early fall. And that's according to the Federal Reserve. And despite all the worries, people are still continuing with spending aggressively, according to Rossman. And he said that he thinks the holiday season factors into this as well. Rossman said, I think there's going to be a lot of post-holiday debt hangovers and a lot of sticker shock in January, unfortunately. The leveraged unsecured debt bubble may be about to burst as it looks like it may be reaching its limits, and expectations of delinquencies and defaults on credit card debt from consumers and their lack of or willingness and or ability to keep paying higher prices draws thin. Oh, and don't let me forget, announcements are being made across the country, letters received in the mail, and email updates. Consumers are being warned to brace for electric, gas, heating, and other energy costs to go on the rise this fall and continue to climb through the winter into 2023. Utility expenses are going to increase. Notices and notifications of increases and some reports of over 200% price jumps. This is it, folks. Time to prepare for what's happening. I'll continue to bring you guys more updates as they are made available. You guys take care. Be safe. I'll see you on the next one.